So the question, of course, is, well, what are some of the issues where we can find common ground here today? In the aftermath of one of the most divisive elections in our nation's history, let me suggest that there are a few CBC priorities where some of my good friends on the other side of the aisle seemingly should take interest in addressing. The first thing, of course, relates to poverty. And despite what we've heard from the president-elect throughout the campaign, poverty is not simply an inner-city problem. My colleague Joyce Beatty is a testament to the fact that so many folks who live in great cities like Columbus, incredibly professional, built wonderful lives, pursued the American dream. Poverty is not an inner-city problem. It's an American problem. In fact, the majority of persistently poor counties in this country, parenthetically, and there's counties where 20% or more of the population has lived below the poverty line for 30 or more years. The majority of persistently poor counties in this country are represented by House Republicans. I don't know if the president-elect realizes that. And so poverty and making sure that every single person in America has an opportunity to pursue the American dream isn't a Democratic issue or a CBC issue. It's an American issue. Maybe we can figure out a way collectively to deal with this problem, because it doesn't just impact the people I represent back home in Brooklyn. The second issue that I think we can find common ground on, hopefully, is criminal justice reform. The House Judiciary Committee has already passed bipartisan legislation unanimously to deal with our unjust sentencing laws, as well as to make sure that everyone has an opportunity for a second chance in life once they've paid their debt to society. And there's been great cooperation from many of my friends on the other side of the aisle, leaders on criminal justice reform, people like Jason Chaffetz and Trey Gowdy and Raul Labrador, people where there may be issues that we don't have a lot in common, but who recognize, along with a whole host of other folks, that we have an overcriminalization problem in America when we have 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's incarcerated individuals. We incarcerate more people in this country than any other country in the world. If you take China and Russia's population combined, it's in excess of 1 billion individuals, yet we incarcerate more than those two countries put together. And I would say to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I think that dealing with mass incarceration in America fits squarely within your philosophical approach to a whole bunch of things. I'm not asking you to become a progressive Democrat. Fiscal conservatives should object to the fact that we spend $80 billion plus a year wasting economic resources and opportunity and human capital, as states in places like Texas and Kentucky and Georgia and Louisiana have done. Not blue states like New York or California, red states who recognize that the fiscally conservative thing to do without sacrificing public safety is to deal with overcriminalization in America. I would also suggest that many of my friends, Christian conservatives, I'm a conservative, I guess, in the sense that I'm a proud member of the Cornerstone Baptist Church, but I don't know what the distinction is, but Christian conservatives, I guess, is the lingo and the language that is often used. All of us who believe in some form of religion, particularly those, of course, who define themselves as Christian conservatives, should embrace the notion that you should have a second chance in life, because theologically, underpinning your religious beliefs is the notion of redemption. That we're all sinners in the eyes of God, with the exception of one person who has walked this earth. And once you pay your debt to society, you shouldn't have a permanent scarlet letter that prohibits you from being able to experience the American dream. And so I think criminal justice reform fits squarely within the philosophy of my fiscal conservative friends, my Christian conservative friends. I would also suggest that my libertarian friends, as Rand Paul and Raul Labrador have illustrated, should also object to the mass incarceration problem that we've got in America. I understand you don't like over taxation. We can argue about what's the appropriate rate. I understand you don't like over regulation. This is all about government overreach. You should have a problem with over criminalization, because there's no area where the government can do more damage than when they have the ability to take away your life or your liberty. And so we stand here as members of the CBC talking about unfinished business, not urging you to cross over and adopt our philosophy. Adopt your philosophy and apply it to criminal justice reform.